That's what I feel. War. That's what's on my mind. I've been feeding the faith, and I've been starving the doubt.
What's happening, YouTube? I am your host, Nice. Welcome to the Fight Room. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you do, for hopefully the latest boxing news, feedback, and entertainment. So this Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, we have a great matchup at the 140-pound division. Shakur Stevenson has moved up to try to take over the takeover. Teofimo Lopez, who is the #1 fighter in the division with the Ring Magazine title. So Lopez, a 2-division champion at the 135-pound division and now the 140. At 135, he defeated Lomachenko, we know that, to win the IBF, WBO, WBA, Ring Magazine, and WBC title. Now, he should have been an undisputed champion at that time. But, you know, the WBC had other plans, making the title super champion or whatnot, and excluded Teofimo from being called undisputed, unfortunately. But to me, I consider him undisputed, unfortunately. If y'all don't like that, that's too bad. Because he did beat the man at the time, who was Vasyl Lomachenko. And then he moved up to 140 and beat the man who was Josh Taylor. Was undisputed, but of course, he got stripped of some titles, but fought Teofimo, and Teofimo gave a hell of a fight in that matchup and overcame Josh Taylor. Now, we know Teofimo, when he comes to fight, tough opposition, big names, he comes through, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with some fighters that he has problems with, always normally be ordinary, average Joes, so to speak, right? Why is that? We do not know. Teo could come in good one night and horrible the next. We know that, right? Like with Jermaine Ortiz, Jermaine was moving around at that matchup, that fight, and he couldn't really get the punches he wanted to against Jermaine, because Jermaine was moving around a lot. Now, Jermaine could have pulled off that match if he would have threw a little bit more and would have came out with the victory, in my opinion, though. But unfortunately, they gave it to Teofimo. Now, Shakur Stevenson, 3-division champion at the 126-pound division, 130-pound, and at the 135-pound division. Now, one of his best matchups, of course, was when he won the 130-pound WBO title, defeating Jamel Herring. Then, in his most lackluster performance, he won the 135-pound WBC title, defeating De Los Santos. So we all know what happened in that matchup. He had suffered a hand injury in sparring before that matchup, and he didn't perform at all, you can say. He was just moving around, couldn't get to De Los Santos, and he actually said that that was his toughest matchup because De Los Santos was accurate, fast, and, you know, he had some tools with him. Then shortly after, he had 3 fights, which his last fight was with William Cepeda, a big matchup that everybody wanted to see, and he performed exceptionally well in that matchup, stood with Cepeda and showed him that he can rumble, he can fight, and can throw with him. Now, let's get to Teofimo Lopez. We all know he's very athletic. He has punching power, and he's fast, and he's agile, ladies and gentlemen. And we know that Teofimo can crack. But unfortunately, lately, he hasn't had any knockouts. His last knockout was on August 13th, 2022 against Pedro Campa at the 140-pound division. Now, that was about 3.5 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me say something. Shakur Stevenson, who they say doesn't pack any power, has 2 knockouts in the last 2 years or so. Teofimo cannot say the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't mean that Shakur can crack more than him, of course not. But at least he's been showing up with knockouts. At least there's 2 of them. Teofimo had Pedro Campa, and before that, Richard Comey, ladies and gentlemen. Now that was a long time ago. Now again to Shakur Stevenson, we know he's a special fighter. Ladies and gentlemen, a 2016 silver medalist at the Olympics. A good fighter, man. Let's speak on it. So Shakur Stevenson, a combination swift fighter. Probably the best jab in the game right now, ladies and gentlemen. A defensive fighter, the best we have seen since Mayweather, let's just be honest here. Does he have arsenal? Yes, he does. Does he use it? Not as much as we like him to, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. But he does have tons of arsenal, and his skills is impeccable. His IQ is off the roof. A good counterpuncher that likes to go to the body quite often, and that's a good thing. Now, Teofimo, a 2-division champion, right now considered the best at the 140, of course, the Ring Magazine champ, the man in the division. He's definitely a good boxer, counterpuncher with a lot of ability. He is very athletic. We know that. He moves around swiftly. He can do it all too, ladies and gentlemen. He can do it all. Very smart, high IQ, good defense as well, but he does keep himself open quite a lot. And we're going to talk about that. Now, talking about their traits and ability, we're going to talk with Teo, has more power. Now, in my opinion, speed, sort of even, but I think Shakur, honestly, is a little faster. And I think Teo is underestimating his speed. And we're going to see that. Body puncher, I got to give that to Shakur all the way. Shakur knows how to go in the body. Likes to go into the top, confuse you, and then go right downstairs quite well all the time, man. He is exceptional in the body. Now, as far as jab goes, we know that Shakur is the best jabber in the game. But definitely Teofimo has a good jab as well, a strong jab. Now, as far as angles, I'm going to have to give that to Teofimo Lopez. He does have more angles, as we know that Shakur likes to stand in front of you almost all the time, and he likes to just go back. He doesn't really use his left and right, lateral movement quite a lot. Teofimo does that more. Now, as far as combination, I got to give that to Shakur as well. Shakur, when he's in there in the kitchen, he loves to throw combinations, and he's accurate as well when he does that. So we're going to see that. Footwork, I got to give it more to Teofimo with the angles and whatnot. Agility, Teofimo all the way too. He's very agile, swift, and active. Technical, I would have to give that to Shakur. His IQ is phenomenal, like I said. He's very technical. He likes to think, and he's very accurate. Like I said, I got to give him that in that department. IQ, also Shakur. Of course, Teofimo is very smart, high IQ as well, but we got to give it to Shakur. Defense, hands down, Shakur Stevenson, of course. Offense, I'm going to have to give that to Teofimo. He's more active. As the fight goes, we know that Shakur likes to take his time and set you up, wailing away with his skill set. So yes, this is a junior welterweight matchup for the 140-pound Ring Magazine title. Ladies and gentlemen, great matchup. Now we got Shakur Stevenson from Newark, New Jersey. His record is 24 wins, undefeated, ladies and gentlemen, with 11 by knockout. 28 years old. His nickname is The Business. 5'8". His weight, ladies and gentlemen, we know is 140 as we speak. His reach, 68 inches, and he's a southpaw, and we know he brings it on. Teofimo Lopez, Brooklyn's own, from New York. 22 wins, 1 defeat, and 13 by knockout. He is 28 years old, and yes, he is the takeover. His height, 5'9". We know his weight is 140, and his arm reach is 68.5 inches. Folks, awesome fight. So my opinion, for Teofimo to try to pull this thing off come Saturday, January 31st, he has to start early, pressuring Shakur quite early and going to the body early and setting up the jab early on. He has to start early. If not, of course, Shakur, having the IQ that he has, in timing, he's going to set you up. So the best thing you can do for an IQ fighter is to not make him think too much. You have to apply the pressure and go at him. So the best way to beat a boxer is not to let him think too much. Don't give him any room to breathe or to think. But depending what fighter is in front of him, he'll take his time. And I know for sure that he's going to take his time with Shakur. That's going to be the problem. Because if you are thinking and you let the higher IQ fighter think, he might outweigh you, outthink you. and land them shots decisively. But Shakur did state that Teofimo is a tremendous fighter and a great fighter. Not an average good fighter, a great fighter. So respect, and vice versa. Because Teofimo said that he knows what he's up against, a good, great fighter as well. So respect is there. So could it be a boring fight or a good fight? It depends, ladies and gentlemen. It really depends. Let's hope that this becomes a great fight and that Shakur becomes more offensive in his fight, because we know he likes the defense and think. So a good fight if it becomes an offensive fight, pretty much. My prediction for this matchup, I'm gonna be honest, of course, I'm gonna pick Shakur by points. But imagine if Shakur tries to stop Teofimo. Could he do it? Is it possible? And I'm gonna tell y'all something that might shock y'all. I think he can. How? Strategic. Using his offense and using his jab to set up. All he has to do. And if he does it, he can pull it off. He can stop him. TKO. Not knockout, but a TKO. Because maybe he can use his offense, of course his IQ, to the point that Teofimo would not know what to do. Let's per se, like the Jamel Herring fight. If Shakur can come in this fight like he fought Jamel Herring, he's unstoppable. And he can stop Teofimo. Now, can Teofimo stop Shakur? Probably so. He has power. He has that pep in his hand. He has that left hook, IQ, and athleticism. But is yet to be seen, folks. I don't think that's possible because of Shakur's IQ. So a good fight for boxing, January 31st on DAZN, Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo. Don't miss this fight. It's good for boxing. Y'all already know I am your host, Nice. Like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, don't forget to share the fight room.